2013, Seattle Times reporter Craig Welch and photographer Ringman traversed the world's greatest ocean, moving from a research expedition in Papua New Guinea to a crab boat on the Bering Sea to a stilt village in Indonesia to capture and explain one of our planet's greatest environmental threats, ocean acidification, the lesser-known twin of climate change. Their work had sweep. Their work had import. Their work also had the potential to be ignored. Because no matter the stakes, this story posed a special challenge. How do you grab and hold readers when you're writing about chemistry and about changes mostly yet to come? Welch and Ringman hooked us through gracious prose and arresting images, and by figuring out where to go. Their research began a few years earlier when scientists discovered that ocean acidification was already killing Northwest oysters decades earlier than projected. Ringman and Welch realized no one else was reporting the story at the proper scale, showing just how fast this change could hit and just how important it could be. In Papua New Guinea, they watched as scientists examine an unusual series of underwater vents, pinprick holes in the sand that exhaled curtains of champagne bubbles, offering a snapshot of CO2's impact. They traveled to Alaska and Hawaii and up the West Coast, detailing the threat to crabs, the threat to oysters, and how sea urchins, hedgehogs of the sea, signal what the future had in store. To report a story that takes place mostly underwater, Welch and Ringman learned to scuba dive and converted that training into unforgettable scenes and images. The series' online presentation includes interactive graphics and 12 videos. Sea change publicized an enormous but little-known threat to the planet and the global economy. Their series uses words, images, innovative web features to convey complex scientific ideas in a format that is intellectually engaging, morally compelling, and aesthetically arresting. The series is an exciting, shining example of what journalism can achieve in the digital age. Most importantly, for a problem understood by fewer than 10% of Americans, the series provides an invaluable service and a call to action. Please help me congratulate Craig Welch and Ringman.
Before Craig launches into explaining about sea change, I just want to say thank you so much to the Sidney Hillman Foundation and to the judges, and it is an incredible honor to be here, and thank you very, very much. Craig's going to talk about sea change.
Steve and I stumbled on the story together and organically. We were sent out a few years ago out to the Washington coast to figure out why the oysters were dying. And at the same time, it just so happened that scientists who had spent their careers trying to understand carbon dioxide and its impact on the oceans were figuring out that ocean acidification, something they had always known was going to happen, was happening far sooner than they initially expected. Ocean acidification, for those of you who might not know, is the evil twin of climate change. The same carbon dioxide that leaves our tailpipes and power plants that causes climate change, about a quarter of it ends up in the ocean, and that changes the chemistry of the sea. By changing the chemistry of the sea, that changes all the ingredients that shellfish, crab, coral, and many other things in the ocean need to grow. This is something we expected to see happen a century from now. Instead, they were finding it right now. And they determined that ocean acidification was killing the oysters. So Steve and I wrote some stories, and we noticed that they weren't getting the kind of attention we thought this issue deserved. That just wasn't on the scale that it needed to be. Ocean acidification is something that's not about shellfish. It's about changes to the ocean at large. So we contacted the folks at the Pulitzer Center and we traveled to Papua New Guinea because that gave us an opportunity to look at a place where carbon dioxide naturally seeps up through the ground and gives us a sense, it's a window onto the future of what the oceans are going to look like. Steve, bless his heart, spent 10 days on the Bering Sea in a crab boat when it was 20 degrees below zero, and the captain of the boat said it was the worst trip they'd had in 20 years. The boat later sank. So Steve put himself in jeopardy in order to get incredible images to help explain that things like king crab, famous from the deadliest catch, are particularly susceptible to these kind of changes in ocean acidification. We went to Indonesia because we wanted to visit with people who are going to be the most likely affected the soonest, because there are people there who not only depend on coral reefs for food, but it's all of their income and everything else that they provide, everything else they require comes directly from the fish. And if the coral reefs aren't in the same shape, they're going to struggle to survive. And then lastly, we spent a lot of time near home with scientists who are experts in this field and tried as best we could to explain how all of this would change the food web in the ocean. This is something that was particularly important for me because I have a 5-year-old daughter and she loves the ocean, and I want her to be able to see the ocean and experience it the way I do. So thank you very much for your help and all of your attention and for exposing this issue to a wider audience. Thank you.